Our guest inherited this unusual-looking artifact from her mother-in-law, who purchased the vase from a lady in Louisiana.
I inherited it from my mother-in-law, who got it from a lady who said that it was from Louisiana.
This unique piece of art was crafted by Maria Longworth Storer. She was the founder of Rookwood Pottery in Cincinnati, Ohio, which became one of the most prominent art pottery makers in the United States. This bronze vase boasts several unique features, including a sculpted head of Medusa, snakes, and an octopus. It was crafted using the lost wax technique and bears the artist's signature at the base.
And lustrous glazes on them. The piece itself was done in the lost wax technique. And what she did when she made this is she had a block of wax.
Originally a base for another vase, this masterfully crafted and distinctive piece is estimated to sell at auction for about...
And considering its rarity and the interest in Rookwood, it's probably worth between $3,000 and $5,000.
Wow.
This stunning artwork has a fascinating history. Purchased by the owner's mother at a safe house, it has been a coveted piece in the family. The owner, who recently remodeled their home with a 1950s theme, has been eager to incorporate this picture into their decor. The artist, Earl Moran, born in 1893 and passing in 1984, had a remarkable career trajectory. Initially inspired by illustrators like Charles David Gibson and James Montgomery Flagg, Moran began as a white shoe illustrator and studied at the Art Students League in New York. However, Moran's fame and fortune came later in mid-century Los Angeles. This piece is a prime example of his end-of-calendar art.
Being pinup.
Right.
Do you have any idea of the value of the piece? Have you had it appraised recently?
No, I have no idea. Honestly, I just painted a wall in my house, the pink on the car, and so...
The painting features a charming scene with a Ford car, a sailboat,
Period sailing vessels and motorboat, the cute dog, the nice signature.
At auction, this particular piece, with its wholesome depiction and detailed composition, could fetch at...
I would be estimating it between $20,000 and $30,000 at auction.
The guest presented a vase passed down from her father, procured at a local auction in 1963. It was recognized as an elephant vase because of its unique elephant-shaped handles, often seen in esteemed settings such as palaces. The appraiser noted its lacquer construction, indicating meticulous craftsmanship with hundreds of layers.
About 2 to 3 days for each layer to dry. So for a vase like this, there probably are literally hundreds of layers of lacquer. So the time it took to construct this.
They also highlighted the lappets, shaped forms descending from the neck of the vase, as a noteworthy design element. The vase lacked finely cut lotus decoration and a mark on the base. Despite its quality, the vase suffered damage, including missing deer antlers and severe damage along the skyline. The appraiser also pointed out a clumsy repair attempt on the piece. Due to extensive damage and dating from a late period, the overall worth declined. Considering these factors, the value held by the particular piece was...
So this has some value. If this came up at an auction sale today, even with the damage, we would expect to get somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000 for it.
I see. Thank you.
They found it at an estate sale in Newark, rescuing it from certain disposal. He is James L. Kennedy, a fire captain in Company No. 1 in Newark, New Jersey. They took photos showing 30% to 40% of the paint was gone when they received it. From behind, holes revealed the gentleman's identity, the artist's name, and the date, 1852. J.W. John Frederick Herring was a prominent 19th century English painter renowned for his sporting and equestrian art. His works are prized for their historical and artistic significance, reflecting the Victoria-era passion for equestrian pursuits. The initials at the bottom of the emblem on his hat correspond to those of Mr. J. L. Kennedy. His paintings portray scenes with naturalistic colors. In awe of its mastery, the appraiser valued the J.W. Herring painting.
From a value of nothing, I would estimate today that if you put this up for public auction, we'd be talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000 to $6,000.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, my.
The odds of stumbling upon rare artifacts when buying a house are pretty slim, but it happened to our guest husband's parents when they purchased a house in Eugene.
And in the cardboard box was this clock, although it was in poor condition when we first saw it. The wood was all gray, and some of the paint was not there.
Manufactured by the Ansonia Clock Company, founded in 1844 by Anson Green Phelps, this clock has a fascinating history. First cataloged in 1874, it belongs to the rare Roman model, one of the company's scarcer creations. Despite being refurbished, some essential parts remain original, adding to its allure.
This is an exotic wood, but he forgot to replace the calendar hand. And there's a calendar hand that would be attached here. It would indicate the day of the month on the outside.
Rare Connecticut wall clocks of this caliber are highly sought after by collectors, and at auction, this clock is estimated to fetch.
We would expect to see this clock in a retail outlet somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1,000.
All right. Yoo-hoo.
This portrait, painted in 1947, depicts the guest's grandfather and holds a unique story behind its creation. The guest's aunt, taking painting lessons at the Brooklyn Museum of Art, conceived the idea of having a portrait done and approached her instructor, who initially asked for $250, beyond their budget. With the instructor's recommendation, they met Franz Klein from the Lower East Side of New York.
He studied art in Boston. He also went on to study in London. He returns to the United States in 1939, ultimately sets up in New York in Greenwich Village.
Franz Klein, known for his later work in abstract expressionism, had his early days in a more representational style and established his abstract style in the 1940s. The portrait, done in oil on canvas, captured a realistic likeness of the guest's grandfather.
I wouldn't give you $10 for everything in the entire studio.
Despite Klein's later success in abstract expressionism, this portrait stands as a unique piece in his portfolio. At auction, this portrait could fetch a value of...
The painting were offered at auction today. We would value it at $3,000 to $5,000.
Wow, it's excellent.
The guest's family heirloom included a watch which was made by his great-great-great-grandfather. It was believed to be crafted in partnership with Jules Jurgensen, a renowned Massachusetts jeweler. The watch was described in a letter from the late 1940s as a masterpiece of horology. The appraiser pointed out the guest's ancestor's signature at the bottom of the letter. The item featured intricate functions such as a perpetual calendar, minute repeater, moon phase indicator, and chronometer. The case was crafted from 18-karat gold in a hunting case style, with an exhibition cover revealing the movement when opened. The appraiser discussed the inconsistency in the letter regarding the age of the watch.
Stayed around for years. They were noted for very, very fine watches, also like this very, very heavy 18-karat gold.
This also raised doubt on the claim that it was made in collaboration with Jules Jurgensen. Despite these uncertainties, the watch holds significant value.
The value on the retail market would be in the $25,000 to $30,000 price range.
Wow.
She bought these vases for a gift to her husband. The small group by Tiffany Studios comprises a salt cellar and a shot glass. Louis Comfort Tiffany created these highly sought-after vases for their unique designs and craftsmanship. These are much rarer, categorized as miniatures in collecting. The gold iridescent glass pieces are sold in a gallery, and they are truly wonderful. Favreau glass gains its iridescence from mixing metallic oxides into molten glass, a wonderful salt and shot glass as the appraiser valued the item.
Sell in a gallery setting for probably about $200 to $250.
Okay.
And the appraiser valued these two rare miniatures.
Now these are more special. This one is probably in the $1,500 to $2,000 range, and this is probably in the $1,000 to $1,500 range.
Wow.
As little kids, we've all wondered about the adventures of riding on a train. Wonderful enough, today's piece is a model of a train. Modeled after an actual train called the Blue Comet, this piece was made by Joshua Lionel Cowan. Cowan was an American inventor and co-founder of Lionel Corporation, a manufacturer of model railroads and toy trains. Just like the actual Blue Comet train that ran along the shores of New Jersey, this piece's external design is a replica and is painted blue.
1941, there's a train called the Blue Comet that ran a New Jersey Central line down to Atlantic City and the Jersey Shore.
Along with the external design, the internal make of this piece is an actual depiction of the Blue Comet train, with every detail matching that of the train it was modeled after.
The temple here, all named after comets.
No kidding. This train, a model of a famous train loved by the American populace, would fetch a sum of...
I would put this out, estimate $8,000 to $10,000.
Oh my.
It's sold as much as $11,500.
Good heavens.
During the First World War, the British Army sentenced 306 soldiers to death after a court-martial for desertion and other capital offenses. Our guest uncle was one of those soldiers.
A second sentry duty for a sick friend. A young officer inspected him, claimed that he was asleep.
Sentenced to death for allegedly sleeping on duty.
Sentenced to be confirmed. He was given back his rifle, sent back to the front, knowing he might be shot by the enemy ahead of him or his own people behind him.
His sentence was later commuted to a 5-year penal servitude, and he received a certificate of honor from his regiment.
Breast pocket where his paybook. Through the photograph of his sister.
We also have records of his actual sentencing, the commuting of that sentence, and of the wiping off of that sentence. This legacy serves as a testament to the enduring human cost of war and the importance of honoring every life lost in service. What value can be placed on this? This vintage lampshade isn't merely a source of light. It's a piece of history that illuminates our presence. Inherited from her father, this guest recounts the tale of how it entered his family.
Years going through the attic, and we pulled it out.
The lampshade was crafted by the Tiffany Studio in New York. The pattern adorning the lamp is known as the vine border. We can discern the green vines and leaves on the item.
Lovely little leaves on the vines.
Yes.
Now they do look like acorns. I agree with you.
This lampshade dates back to around 1906. Remarkably, even after more than a century since its creation, it remains in good condition. However, its original fixtures are missing, which affects its value slightly. It is estimated to be worth...
Would be worth between $15,000 and $20,000
With the hardware.
if you could get the original hardware. It's that important and that unusual.
Sure.
These earrings, originally cufflinks, were a gift from the Tsar of Russia to the guest's grandfather, who worked in Russia in the early 1900s. Our guest's aunt converted them into earrings, a common practice for repurposing such pieces. The double-headed Russian imperial eagle, a symbol of the government, likely adorned the original cufflinks.
And my grandfather actually worked in Russia for a while in the early 1900s.
These earrings bear incised numbers on the back, possibly indicating the maker's inventory numbers, suggesting they could be from the jeweler Carl Fabergé. Although the original backs are missing, and as earrings, they are valued at...
They would probably be worth 12 to 15.
Oh my
I think
God.
that there's evidence on the back by the little numbers that they, in fact, were probably by the jeweler Carl Fabergé, the imperial jeweler of Russia.
As potential Fabergé pieces, even in their current form, they could fetch...
In a retail setting, they would probably be sold for $40,000 to $50,000.
Unbelievable.
The guest showcased an artwork by her late grandfather, Ben Carlton Mead, a celebrated Western illustrator from Texas. Titled The Kingfisher, this illustration piece holds a rich backstory
in watercolor and gouache. A wonderful circus scene by your grandfather. It's a lovely painting.
And dates back to the 1940s and 50s. Unlike many illustrations painted in shades of gray, known as grisaille, this piece stands out as an original example in watercolor and gouache. Featuring a captivating circus scene, this lovely painting is a testament to Mead's artistic talent. At auction, such a unique watercolor art piece would bring...
Watercolor would fall in the $5,000 to $7,000 range.
Wow, that's very nice to know.
we are presented with a couple of stunning landscape paintings which the guest acquired from a yard sale. These pieces were painted by John F. Kensett, a prominent 19th century American artist, renowned for his work in Rhode Island. Painted with oil on artist board, these pieces, though lacking a signature, bear small inscriptions addressed to someone special.
Each of them has a little inscription in the lower right-hand corner, inscribed to someone. This one says, Louis Parmley from J.F. Kensett.
With their captivating landscape, these oil paintings on artist board hold significant value of...
At auction would be $30,000 to $50,000 each.
$30,000 to $50,000.
$30,000 to $50,000 each.
While helping clean out a foreclosed house, guests discovered a unique letter in a dumpster. The letter dated back to 1881 from one Indian chief to another, urging for peace. Chief William wrote to Chief Jim expressing concerns about conflict.
He starts off writing to this one chief who was a Washoe and obviously one of the big chiefs.
He mentioned incidents of misbehavior and drunkenness among the tribes. It highlighted a specific incident where 12 members of a family were killed. Chief William sought peace and reconciliation between the tribes. He mentioned an agreement to pay for damages, emphasizing the need for peace.
Then he's saying that she just wants to go home to her family in Reno because where the Washoe were was in California, up near the border of Nevada and so on.
Chief William's letter mentioned woman Annie's safety, urging Chief Jim to prevent violence, and surprisingly, he hinted at wanting compensation if Annie was harmed. Such letters between Indian chiefs are exceedingly rare. Negotiations and discussions of payment in such letters are even more uncommon. Appraiser estimated that letter could fetch
that this might sell retail $5,000 to $10,000 wouldn't shock me at all.
Let's dive into history with the 1929 C.G. Kahn trombone. It has all kinds of old special stuff from a time when music was different. The guest shared that the trombone was gifted to her husband-to-be in 1968 by the son of Leo Zimmerman, a renowned trombonist in John Philip Sousa's band. The appraiser elaborated on the instrument's maker, Charles Gerard Kahn, and the significance of his contribution to brass instrument production. Despite initial assumptions about its age placing it around 1913, it was determined to be from 1929. The guest mentioned that their son began playing the trombone in the 7th grade, but was advised against it for its value. The appraiser emphasized the trombone's excellent condition and its accompanied ephemera, including custom mouthpieces and Sousa-related items. The appraiser highlighted that on the Roadshow, they rarely encounter Kahn instruments of such exceptional quality. Signed C.G. Kahn from Elkhart, Indiana, this trombone boasts exquisite engraving and impeccable condition. While stating the significance of the instrument, the appraiser said,
for insurance purposes, you want to insure this in probably about the $3,000 range.
Very, very good.
One of the most beautiful things in life is being able to own a musical instrument, and the piece we're presented with today is quite a unique musical instrument. This piece is called a ukulele and combines elements of the ukulele and violin. The ukulele was made by the International Music Company based in Hoboken and Jersey City.
Based in two places, Hoboken, New Jersey, and Jersey City.
When played, the ukulele produces a distinctive sound that's somewhere between a violin and a zither. This piece is complete with its bow and music direction booklet accompanying it.
Of $1 after that. After you've had it for a couple of months, you'd realize you can't play it.
Although the ukulele is not as commonly seen today, it has a fascinating history in American music and would be valued at...
Value today, $50 at best, so a little bit better than the $35 it might have cost day one.
Posters are artworks we see every day, ranging from movie posters to sports posters. Today's pieces, however, are quite iconic. They're a complete set of the Four Freedoms posters. These posters are based on a famous speech by Franklin Roosevelt. Roosevelt was the 32nd President of the United States, whose third and fourth terms coincided with America's involvement in World War II.
Freedom from fear and freedom of worship.
And Norman Rockwell took it upon himself to illustrate these 4 freedoms. And he did these 4 paintings. These were originally paintings.
The posters were made by an employee of the Saturday Evening Post, Norman Rockwell. Rockwell was an American painter and illustrator most famous for his cover illustrations made for the Saturday Evening Post. Of utmost importance about these posters was that they were used as a form of fundraising for World War II by the American government.
The government issued them in 3 different sizes. These are the largest of 3 sizes. They each measure about 40 inches wide by 60 inches high.
These posters are a treasure to behold for what they stand for, and having not just 1 but 4 of them will make them valued at...
I would estimate the 4 at $4,000 to $6,000 for the group.
Oh, that's great.
They still command such a strong price, in large part because they're so large.
Today's pieces are from one of the topmost magazines of the 20th century. They are artworks given to our guest by his father, who was the art director of Mad Magazine from 1956 to 1980. Mad Magazine is an American humor magazine first published in 1952. Among the pieces is a quite famous cover.
The going away present?
No, I think you acquired this at another time. This wasn't the actual one that made it on the cover.
Along with other fine pieces from some of the top illustrators of Mad Magazine. Each and every one of these pieces is signed by the artist who illustrated them. This collection of artworks from some of the top illustrators of one of the most important magazines of the 20th century would go for...
Ordinary opening figure, like if this was to go to an auction, your reserve, that is the price below which you would not sell it, would be in the $20,000 range.
Okay, wow.
Because it's a fabulous collection of artwork.
Dive into a symphony of color and emotion with the oil masterpieces of Elaine de Kooning and Wolf Kahn. During the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the guest's father owned a parking garage in New York City's Greenwich Village, near where artists like the de Koonings, Elaine and Willem, and Wolf Kahn congregated. The artists often parked at the garage and arranged trades when short on cash. One such trade resulted in an early portrait of Wolf Kahn by Elaine de Kooning. The piece marks a transition in his style, shifting from a darker to a brighter palette. It depicts the artist in his studio on a large canvas. Wolf Kahn is renowned for abstract landscapes, while Elaine de Kooning excelled in portraiture, mythological scenes, and abstract bull depictions. Both 20th century abstraction contemporaries, Kahn's mid-1960s artwork showcased a transitional shift in style, indicating his evolving artistic journey. The appraiser noted that while both artists were known for their abstract work, these pieces showcased different themes. The guest chuckled at the art's value compared to garage rent, pleased with the appraisals. While praising the artwork of Kahn and de Kooning, the appraiser said,
an evaluation of somewhere around 30 to 50,000, perhaps 40 to 60,000 would be
Very
conservative
good.
for that.
Excellent.
At first glance, you wouldn't realize just how rare this toy is, just because it looks like the normal, everyday toy.
It's a toy by a manufacturer called Marklin.
It's so rare that perhaps only 2 of its kind were ever made.
And when I walked through the corridors of Chatsworth House...
It was crafted by a German toy company called Marklin, and toys manufactured by this company have now become highly valuable. This is owing to the fact that the company was among the pioneers in manufacturing technical toys. It has been said that some of the toys made by this company are worth at least £100,000. Similarly, being only one of 2 known examples, this toy would command a price of...
That, which has never turned up, would have to start at around $150,000.
Ring belonged to owner's grandmother and has been with her since 1999, mostly in her jewelry box. Standout feature is the coral-carved face typical of Victorian jewelry from 1837 to 1901. People of the Victorian era favored coral, especially in high relief like this, rather than low-relief shell cameos. It is crafted from 18-karat gold, giving it this rich hue. In 1840, Queen Victoria's snake and emerald ring set a trend, influencing the fashion of the time. Though unmarked, this ring likely originates from France due to its style. Platinum setting represents a rare early use of the metal. Eyes are emeralds, with small European-cut diamonds serving as accents.
The gold. From 18 karat gold's about 75% pure gold with the other alloys.
This piece would fetch...
At auction, I would say that this ring would be in there for $2,000 to $3,000.
Wow.
So, most definitely not custom jewelry.
No.
For antique lovers, purchasing antique flags brings joy. However, more often than not, you might end up purchasing a fake. One way to identify authenticity is by considering that antique flags were made from natural materials.
Make sure your flag is sewn by hand.
And that's pretty easy even for the layman to look at the stitching and say that's
Right.
hand sewn as opposed to machine sewn.
While fake ones are crafted from synthetic materials. Another indicator is machine-sewn flags. During the 1800s, sewing machines were patented, so flags had to be hand-sewn. Additionally, the embroidery on antique flags is handmade, as advanced technology was not common during that time. Picasso's 1955 Visage jug is a clay masterpiece from Valerie, capturing the artist's timeless style. Recollecting a visit to San Francisco 4 decades ago, the guest recalled purchasing what was presented as a Picasso jug. The appraiser delved into its origins in Valerie, France. During Picasso's ceramic phase between 1946 and 1955, noting its characteristic simplicity. The appraiser informs us that this is a form called visage, which is French for face. It's a simple, elegant design. At the bottom it says Edition Picasso and then Madura. That's where it was made, at the Madura Pottery Works. Nowadays, because Picasso's ceramics are simple to make and he became famous early on, there are many fake Picasso ceramics around. Despite the absence of an edition size on the bottom, the inclusion of a receipt bearing the guest's name served as vital provenance. Identified as a Remy 288, part of a limited edition of 500, its potential authenticity was bolstered. While praising Picasso's work, the appraiser said,
Today's market, at auction, $20,000 would be the price.
Well, that's not bad. It's a pretty good return on my money.
This unique piece of artwork was created by local Madison artist Simon Sparrow, known for his street preaching in the area. Sparrow was a customer of the owner's father-in-law's service station and
Madison, and one day in the winter, his car had broken down, and he had walked to the service station, asked my father-in-law to help him, and so he did.
Made from found objects, this piece is considered outsider art, reflecting a mix of African spirituality.
Through, and he thought that his art and his spiritual message were one and the same.
Sparrow believed his art was a spiritual vessel through which God spoke. The artwork, created in the late 1970s or early 1980s, initially hung in the owner's in-law's basement before being passed down to them. Despite hanging briefly in their son's room, it was eventually taken down as it frightened him. Simon Sparrow passed away in 2000, and his works are highly regarded, with some displayed in the Minnesota Museum of Art and represented by a major gallery in Chicago. The appraiser estimates the value of this piece to be,
say, a good auction estimate on this would be $6,000 to $8,000.
Wow.
And then I would just kind of stand back and let them fight over it.
That's great.
In the spring of 1995, this guest, a car enthusiast, read about the Rolex Daytona, admired its connection to car racing, and sought to purchase one. After being told by a dealer that the watch was extremely rare, he found a seller in the classifieds offering 2 Daytonas.
I really didn't know. I mean, I knew it was in the box, never been worn, and I went through the paperwork. I felt comfortable with it, and I think this was before the counterfeit watches were a thing. It was prior to the internet. It looked like the real deal, and so I went for it.
So he bought a black-faced Daytona for $5,700, with his pregnant wife's hesitant approval. The appraiser noted the guest's extensive use of the watch, which included manual labor, adding significant wear and tear. Despite this, having the original packaging and paperwork, along with the natural aging of the dial due to ultraviolet light exposure, increased the watch's value.
And on the black dials, so luckily you didn't get a white dial, you got a black dial.
This watch had a black dial that started to change color, which was beneficial because the more it was exposed to sunlight, the darker the rings became, making the watch unique. This wonderful watch, featuring the Zenith El Primero movement, was estimated dramatically by the appraiser to be worth.
The Zenith chronographs right now are really trading around $20,000 to $25,000 right now at auction.
The guest bought this watch at a local estate sale for $10, only to learn later that it was marked Rolex, but she was unsure of its authenticity. Her husband took the watch to a local appraisal fair where someone offered him $800 for it. The guest decided to keep the watch instead of selling it. The appraiser confirmed that the watch was genuine, made by the Rolex Watch Company in Geneva, Switzerland. The model was first launched in 1931, and this particular watch was made in the early 1940s. It featured a 14-karat gold case and was nicknamed the Bubbleback due to its thick, bulbous case that accommodates the rotor for automatic winding.
Model in 1931. This, for example, is made around the early 1940s. It's in a 14-karat gold case. It's nicknamed the Bubbleback. It was the first ever good automatic wristwatch.
The appraiser noted that the bracelet on the watch was not original, as these watches were typically sold with leather straps. However, this did not affect the watch's value. The appraiser cautioned the guest to be wary when someone offers to buy an item during an appraisal. Ultimately, the appraiser valued this watch at...
In this type of condition, I think realistically, at auction purposes, you'd be looking around $4,000.
Wow.
This bracelet originally belonged to the guest's mother, who gifted it to her for dress-up. The guest has cherished it ever since. The guest had realized the bracelet might be special when she saw a similar one on a PBS show. The appraiser immediately identified it as the work of Art Smith, a famous modernist known for his unique jewelry designs. Art Smith, an Afro-Cuban American, moved from Cuba to Brooklyn and later to Greenwich Village in the 1940s and 50s. He created highly sought-after pieces, some of which were commissioned by notable figures like Eleanor Roosevelt and Duke Ellington, and featured in magazines such as Harper's Bazaar and Vogue. This bracelet, called the Modernette, was made of copper and brass, which was less common than the silver versions Smith also created. It bore his signature, which confirmed its authenticity despite some discoloration. The appraiser noted that similar pieces had sold for $12,000 in 2012. Given the current demand for modernist jewelry, he estimated the bracelet's value at...
Okay, it's been a while.
And this sold at auction in 2012 for $12,000.
Oh my gosh! Are you kidding?
No, I am not.
Oh my, oh, okay.
Since childhood, the guest has been amassing a collection of flip books, and nestled within them is a delightful surprise for our daily viewers. These flip books resembled miniature animated films. They served diverse functions, from advertising to amusement. Included are baseball collectibles, Disney publications, and even Howdy Doody. Surprising treasure is the Antiques Roadshow flip book, crafted by the flippist. It amusingly portrays experts such as Lee, Les, Nick Lowry, and the appraiser himself. Each flip book is a historical artifact, with some being exceptionally rare. Appraiser estimates the value of the entire collection. While many perceive soldiers as stern and unyielding, this archive from West Point Military Academy provides a different perspective. Dating back to 1861, this
class, what you've got for us today is fascinating.
This archive is crucial as it documents the experiences of soldiers at one of the premier military academies.
Material dating, we believe, earliest letters are about 1857 through 1860.
West Point is notable for offering the highest number of majors and minors among all service academies. Included in the collection is an appointment document issued to the guest's grandfather. Of particular significance is that this document bears the signature of the esteemed leader, Abraham Lincoln. Also featured is a book highlighting key figures overseeing West Point in 1861.
And it's annotated by your great-grandfather as to what happened to them. This one says, killed at Gettysburg. We have a picture of your great-grandfather.
Considering the historical significance of these documents, this archive holds significant auction value of...
Would probably have an auction estimate of between $8,000 and $12,000.
Oh, wow.
This bracelet, consisting of a series of real gold nuggets, has been in the Guest family for many years, though they are unsure of its exact history. Each segment of the bracelet features raw gold nuggets, giving it a unique and natural appearance. The bracelet's origin is traced back to Australia, known for its opal mines and
found out they had opal mines and they had terrific resources for metals, and one of the metals they had.
It is speculated that someone wealthy likely brought this bracelet back as a souvenir from Australia. This piece is exceptionally rare, as it is only the second piece of Australian gold the appraiser has encountered in their 3-generation career in the business. The appraiser values this unique piece of jewelry at approximately...
Jewelry has a value of about $12,000 to $15,000, and if not in New York, certainly in Australia.
That's nice to know.
This crocodile or alligator, likely crocodile bag, dating back to approximately 1890 to 1905, originally belonged to the Guest grandfather. Handmade with meticulous craftsmanship, the bag is a testament to the luxury goods produced in Austria during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Despite its age and slight wear, the bag's extraordinary shape and patina are indicative of its high quality and historical significance. These type of valises are extremely rare, adding to the bag's allure and value as a collector's item. At auction, this unique piece of luggage would likely fetch at...
Say that at auction this would sell for between $3,000 and $3,500 at least. It's a really great piece, and I hope you don't let it collect any more dust.
Wow, really?
Really.
A family heirloom that has served the family for years is brought to the show.
How old are your kids?
36, 35, 34, and 27.
And they all played on this guitar?
Yes.
This is a guitar from the Martin Company, made back in 1845. The collaboration between Martin and John Koopa produced this piece. This old guitar features a spruce top and an ebony fingerboard, along with a black painted peg head. A view from the back of the guitar shows its Brazilian rosewood, also on the sides. Despite its old age, this guitar remains in excellent condition, featuring a fancy Stauffer headstock, and would conservatively cost
$8,000 and $10,000.
Wow, really?
Really.
Whoa. Wow, it surprises me. I didn't have any idea.
This guest stumbled upon these drawings in the attic of his new home.
I moved into a house in Orange back in 1970, and the lady who sold me the house had these up in the attic.
They are the construction plans for Disneyland. The guest presented 2 of the 15 drawings he acquired. These drawings depict plans for many famous Disneyland scenes, including the booths, building elevations, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and more. The drawings are from Fantasyland and date back to the early 1950s. They are reproductions of the original building elevation drawings, painted to guide construction workers. Vintage Disneyland artifacts like these drawings are highly sought after by collectors, giving them an auction value of about
$3,000 and $5,000 a piece.
Whoa. Wow, it surprises me. I didn't have any idea.
What look like 3 normal Chinese vases are actually worth a lot. Among the 3, there's one that is a basic Chinese vase, another that's better and worth more than the basic, and finally, one that is the best, worth and more than the basic and better combined. Even though they all possess beautiful patterns, a few distinct features make each one worth more than the others.
This one? The cheapest one, the basic one.
Basic
okay.
One.
Which do you think is which?
I think perhaps this one, about 50 quid, something like that.
Okay, so that's the basic one.
Looking at each vase, which one of these 3 do you think is basic, better, and best?
Oh, wow. So I don't know if that's what you were expecting.
The guest presented her mother's bracelet, a family heirloom specifically designed by the renowned jeweler David Webb, one of the most influential names in American jewelry.
It was actually known for making jewelry for clients with stones, so that's not unusual.
These bracelets, made in the 1960s,
when you put them together, they almost look like a snake, and they are really chic.
Feature a gold texture with diamond stones embedded in platinum. Although there are many fakes on the market today, an authentic bracelet like this, which can also be worn as a necklace, at auction would have a price of
$20,000 to $30,000.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if that's what you were expecting.
Oh, nice. That's sweet.
Yeah.
This glass vase at first doesn't look like a vase, and that's why it's so distinct and unique.
Probably picked this up in Europe, and maybe when he actually went back with his wife.
This vase was made in 1930 by a company called Murano Venini.
Paolo Venini started the Venini Glassworks around 1921. The island of Murano, it's a very well-established glassmaking area.
And one of the confirming attributes is the sheer expertise used to craft the vase. It was crafted by Carlos Scarpa. This Murano vase is a perfect example of a classic vase, and these kinds of vases were in vogue in the early to mid-20th century. Given its distinct color and shine, today this vase would auction at...
Good auction estimate would be $15,000 to $20,000.
Oh, nice. That's sweet.
Yeah.
The guest purchased this beautiful parrot sculpture for $50 from a consignment shop in Philadelphia. The appraiser identified the sculpture as an Italian piece made in the early 20th century. Made as part of the Italian tradition, this particular sculpture was crafted from earthenware and coated in maiolica. The appraiser explained that maiolica turns white when it oxidizes, giving it the appearance of porcelain. He also mentioned a few spots where the maiolica ware was missing, revealing the brown earthenware underneath. The date of manufacturing and the artist were unknown, but this didn't significantly impact its value, as the piece was intended for decorative purposes and would appeal to any art lover. The appraiser estimated this majestic sculpture to be valued at
$2,000, and I don't think that would be unreasonable.
No, that's great.
Imagine coming across a diploma certificate that's been tagged a piece of junk, but on this diploma, there's a very important signature on it. The signature is from one of the most powerful men in the history of the United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Eisenhower served as the 34th President of the United States from 1953 to 1961. This particular signature was from before Eisenhower became President of the United States and was actually from when he was still just President of Columbia University.
Say that it wasn't a particularly successful presidency. Even the Columbia University website said that he was not the most engaged of presidents.
Typical of Eisenhower's signature, we can see a distinctive emphasis on the D and E of his name. This diploma, although almost deemed a piece of junk, bears the signature of one of the most iconic U.S. presidents, and as such, would be worth
Be $700 to $900.
Oh my goodness.
So not bad for $3.
Not bad at all.
Well done.
A look at today's piece might have one wondering what it is. It's actually a very portable music box. The music box is a Swiss-made piece that was crafted circa 1900 and was made using gilt brass. When a button is pressed by the side of this piece, a bird pops up and starts singing a tune. A unique music box with marvelous designs at auction would be valued at
about $1,000 or $1,200.
This simple dress looks absolutely stunning. It's a dress made by one of America's most famous fashion designers, Jeffrey Bean. Bean was one of New York's most famous fashion designers, recognized for his artistic and technical skills. The dress has nice wide cuffs and wonderful collars, and was made in the 1970s. A classic, elegant dress made with silk, this dress is surely typical of Bean's innovative designs that blend simplicity with elegance.
But it's a beautiful silhouette, it's a beautiful color.
Although this dress has some minor conditional issues, the fact that it's from one of America's most loved fashion designers would make it worth
$350.
Oh, wow. Really? Wow. People in Powder River County are rich and don't know it.
This beautiful wooden carving was made by a German artist named Ed Green, who gifted it to the guest father. The appraiser praised this beautiful piece of folk art, noting how perfectly it was carved. The guest shared an interesting story about the artist, mentioning that he didn't like women at all and would sweep his floor if any woman walked on it. This carving depicted beautifully carved bison and mule deer, animals native to the area. To the guest's surprise, the appraiser estimated the value of this art piece to be
$5,000 to $7,000.
Really? Wow. People in Powder River County are rich and don't know it.
The guest uncle purchased this snuff box for $168 from an antique store in Chicago in the 1960s and later gifted it to the guest. The appraiser identified it as a papier-mâché hand-painted Russian lacquer box manufactured in 1840. It featured a hand-painted faux tortoiseshell interior and bore the signature of the Russian company Lakuten Factory at the top, embellished with an imperial eagle motif. Additionally, the piece boasted an unusual multicolored checkered box design, with a Turkish painting adorning the front of the box. The appraiser disclosed that this box had been gifted to Catherine the Great by a Turkish sultan. To the guest's surprise, the appraiser estimated this piece to be
$20,000.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's amazing.
This painting, a family heirloom inherited by our guest from his grandmother, is the work of French artist Jean-Joseph Benjamin Constant. Benjamin Constant was a French painter and etcher best known for his Oriental subjects and portraits. He was also one of the founders of the Société des Peintres Orientalistes Français. The painting showcases his bold brushwork and meticulous attention to detail and is based on the Alhambra, the Moorish fortress in Spain. Preserved in good condition, the painting requires a bit of refurbishment to bring out its vibrant colors.
What would hold this back is it's a little bit dark down in here. A little brighter would help. Cleaning it would help too. This is supposed to be white. It's a little bit dirty.
After restoration, its auction price can be valued at
$40,000 to $60,000 for a painting like this. It's a very, very good example of French Orientalist art of the period.
We had no idea, so that's very surprising.
This piece was gifted to the guest from her grandmother when she was younger. It was a piece from school and part of a collection of Missouri German ceramics. The appraiser revealed that many German families shifted to the USA and started their own ceramic outlets between 1835 and 1890. This piece may be identical to the Missouri State Historical Society's collection, but it was produced by the Jaglin Pottery in Boonville and dates back to the 1880s. It was a snake jug crafted by Jaglin, who initially served in the Union Army before establishing his own pottery line. This jug featured 3 exquisitely carved snakes, each adorned with unique carvings, with one snake forming the handle of the jug. The appraiser estimated this exquisite piece to be valued at
$4,000 to $6,000.
No way.
Way.
Oh, that's...
Purchased by the guest about 14 years ago.
We got it at a military antique store in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Tell me what you know about it.
The flag represents a significant part of American history. It was adopted with the admission of Kansas as the 34th state in January 1861 and was used until 1863 when West Virginia became a state. During the American Civil War, the flag was hung from windows and balconies to provide morale support to Confederate soldiers. This flag symbolizes both the bravery of American soldiers and the patriotism of the average citizen. With a historical significance, it attracts a value of
between $7,500 and $10,000.
Oh,
it's
my
really
goodness.
a wonderful piece of...
The guest bought a map he received from his grandmother, who had owned it since the 1950s. Its title was hard to translate, but the appraiser translated it as New World Play. It was a Baroque masterpiece with an unusual equidistant polar azimuthal projection, making it a very rare collectible. The map featured a unique design with the 4 continents depicted in a garden together. The map was a second edition, printed in 1700 by Cornelius Dankerts, a Dutch geographer and engraver. The The map featured beautiful design elements, including the 24 hours of the day and the months of the year. It also featured geographical details like New Netherlands, now New York, and California depicted as an island. The map's original coloring, possibly done by the mapmaker or artist, featured lapis lazuli blues, making it even more valuable. Due to the map's historic and cartographic significance, it was appraised at
$10,000 to $12,000.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful.
The guest unveiled a collection of mountaineering equipment.
We could do a whole program on him.
It was owned by his grandfather, Theodore Howard Somerville, a renowned mountaineer. The appraiser discussed the terrific participation of Somerville in the 1922 and 1924 British Everest expeditions. Among the items was a photograph captured at 27,000 feet during the 1924 expedition. The appraiser scrutinized the collection, observing climbing gear from the 1920s, goggles, and an Olympic gold medal won by Somerville's group. Additionally, they admired Somerville's artistic talents, noting his paintings depicting mountaineering scenes. Somerville was considered a polymath with various interests, including climbing. The guest expressed gratitude for the appraised value of the incredible collection.
£70,000?
Wow.
Gifted to the guest's father as a token of appreciation, this sculpture holds significant sentimental value. Jean-Léon Gérôme, a French painter and sculptor known for his academicism, created this brilliant piece. By 1880, his works were so widely reproduced that he was arguably the world's most famous living artist. This sculpture is titled Napoleon Entering Cairo, commemorating Napoleon's conquest of Cairo in the late 18th century. It was created about a century after the event to honor the victory. This piece is a reproduction of the original larger sculpture, showcasing the artist's attention to detail. It is estimated to be worth
between $8,000 and $10,000.
Very good.
The guest brought a vase she received as a wedding present from her grandparents. It was from the Roseville Company, specifically from the Fujiyama line, designed by Gazo Fuji, a Japanese artist. Fujiyama was an earlier line than Fuji, dating back to 1905, while Fuji was introduced in 1906. Both lines were stylized and part of the arts and crafts movement, but Fujiyama was considered more valuable. Fujiyama vases were much rarer than Fuji vases, making this piece a unique and special find. The guest's vase had a rare background glaze, making it even more valuable. The appraiser estimated the value of the vase to be
$1,500 to $2,000, but because it's earlier Fujiyama with this rare background glaze, we're talking $2,500 to $3,500. And if you're putting an insurance value on that, I'd put $4,000. Okay.
The guest brought a stone jug she purchased at a family estate auction in 1995 for $60, but soon sold it to another man for $100. However, her mother advised her to try to get the jug back, and she managed to retrieve it from the buyer. The jug was identified as a rare piece of Edgefield stoneware made by a slave named Dave. Dave was a skilled potter who worked for several potters in Edgefield, and his wares were highly prized. The jug was ash-glazed and alkaline glazed, typical of the Edgefield area. It featured a writing on the side, including the date June 28, 1854, and the initials L.M., Lewis Miles. This rare and remarkable jug, with its distinctive finish, was appraised at
$6,000 today.
That's great.
That was in '93 when that thing sold.
That's awesome.
When you hear of vases, you first think they're made from glass, but perhaps the uniqueness of this vase is that it was made from copper. This vase was made in the 1930s by Dirk van Erp. Van Erp was famous for making lamps and bookends at the time,
And he started working in San Francisco at the Naval Shipyard. And he started making things out of brass shell casings. He would give them away to friends, and he started selling them. And then he set up a shop in Oakland.
And so making this vase made it unique because it was made by the best. To most folks, it looks like a cauldron rather than a vase, but this definitely adds to its charm, appeal, and uniqueness. Given its creator's credibility, this vase in today's market would auction at
$6,000 to $8,000.
That's something else.
This Explorer guitar is a dream come true for musical antique collectors because, despite being vintage, it still holds its quality and longevity. What's special about this guitar is that it's a limited edition Gibson Explorer guitar.
The original Explorers were made in 1958 and 59, and they were kind of a dud. They were made out of Carino wood,
which means it's rare. The guitar is made from mahogany wood, which is a special kind of hardwood. The guitar is also equipped with goldware, which enhances its appeal. As a rare collection, this '76 Explorer guitar would auction at
$3,000 to $4,000-ish range.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty.
The guest brought the pottery pieces she inherited from her family, who had put them on display in the kitchen. The family had mistakenly identified the pieces as Wedgwood. The pieces were identified as North Carolina pottery, specifically made by Walter Stephen. Walter Stephen worked at the Pisgah Pottery from the mid-1920s until his death in 1961. The pieces were all dated 1950, making them a unique and valuable collection. As a group, the pottery pieces were valued at
between $1,000 and $1,500.
The guest was pleased to learn the true origin and value of the pottery, which had been part of her family for so long. The guest brought a bag her great-grandfather, a lieutenant in the Army, received from a Cherokee Native American warrior in 1846. The bag was made by a Cherokee woman for her husband to be worn around the shoulders with a pouch for carrying tools. The pouch still contained a plug of tobacco, and the bag's designs were floral and herbal. The bag was significant due to its connection to the Cherokee Nation and the forced relocation of the Cherokee people in the 1830s. The bag's condition was rough, but could be restored, and its colors reflected superior craftsmanship. The bag was accompanied by a document signed by the guest's great-grandfather. The document significantly increased the bag's value, making it worth
$25,000.
Oh my goodness.
However, the bag and the document together, I think, would have a value of about $100,000.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
That's a great deal of money.
Collection of Chinese glazed vases. These vases were purchased by this guest while he was in Atlanta.
And he calls this domestic, and I like domestic Chinese better than I do export.
Two of these pieces were made in the 19th century. Looking at the bottom of one of these items, we can see that the base has been ground off, a technique common at the time. And at auction, these two elegantly crafted vases would be valued at
$2,500 a piece.
Another vase is larger than the others, and the glaze covers the entire body, stopping just at the base in a more refined way, compared to the other vases.
You noticed also, if you would actually touch that foot rim of the piece, it's as smooth as talc.
This particular vase was made in early 18th century China. Additionally, the glaze implemented on this vase is called crushed strawberry glaze. For a vase crafted in bygone era, it still retains its allure and artistry of the era it was made, placing its value at auction at
between $8,000 to $10,000.
This guest brought a pair of bronze sculptures. These sculptures were made by a visual artist called Alan Clark, whose work reflected his worldwide travels. As can be seen with the pair of sculptures, they're influenced by Asian style. These style are done on the Art Deco design of the piece. These sculptures are quite a sight to behold. At auction, this pair of Asian-influenced Art Deco bronze sculptures would be worth
between $8,000 and $12,000.
Very good. Today's episode involves going on a trip to the famous Salisbury House in Iowa. In the Salisbury House, there are a lot of interesting books, but of particular interest is an extra illustrated biography of Charles Dickens. Dickens was an English novelist who is often regarded as the greatest novelist of the Victorian era. These illustrations were done by a very good friend of Dickens called John Forster.
An extra illustrated edition is any book into which additional material is inserted, whether that's printed or handwritten.
As with extra illustrated works, this item has inputs from a variety of people, and as such, now has expanded to become 9 tomes worth of material. Another wonderful thing about this piece is that it includes 9 volumes. A piece like this, with all the history included not only about Dickens himself, but also the great people he came across, would be worth
like 80 to 120,000 with the expectation.
A look at some of the furniture presented today might have one questioning oneself. The furniture is crafted in such a unique way that it's eye-catching and pleasing to look at. These furniture pieces were made by a master woodworker and furniture maker called Art Espinay Carpenter. Espinay was known for his wishbone chair and desk with scalloped seashell sides. One of the pieces of furniture presented is a music stand and is so beautiful with its purple color.
Music stands are loved by furniture designer and makers because they're so sculptural and there's so much you can do.
Another piece, a chest, has pixel glass as part of its design to imitate raindrops. And then there is the chair with its unique make that makes one wonder about the complexities of its craftsmanship. These pieces of furniture, each of which is a blend of 20th century structure and modern designs, would individually be worth
$10,000 to $12,000 range.
We have on the show today a collection of Rookwood pottery. They were brought on the show by a guest who collected them as a hobby. These collections were produced by the Rookwood Pottery Company. The first item, which happens to be the largest displayed, features rings at its neck region and beautiful embossed decoration. At the base, we can see the Rookwood mark. This piece is estimated to be worth
$200 to $300.
The second piece in this collection is an early standard brown glazed piece adorned with a floral design with the artist's signature and date visible at the bottom. At auction, it would be valued at
About $350 to $450.
Another item displayed is pottery with the artist's signature on its base, called the painted mat, adorned with berries and mistletoe decoration. In this good condition, it would fetch an auction value of
$2,500 to $3,500 and maybe as much as $3,000 to $4,000. It's that lovely.